make us all cry. Who didn't cry when they were watching this?
Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better.
The OGs and the new ones. Kia ora and welcome. My name's ZoeStibi and I'm your vocal coach for today because we're going to do it and have a look at the wicked, wonderful night performances. I am so excited. We're going to be having a look at For Good right now. Now, a bit of a caveat. I have already watched the entire performance because I just could not wait. And no, this performance was just so moving. I'm really excited to see it again. So let's see what they're all up to with their vocal technique.
Let's do it.
Why not?
How about this?
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I...
Oh no! The waterworks already started. Through the whole journey of seeing the both of them and the way that they talk about each other and how they've changed each other's lives, you know that this is just coming totally from the heart. You can see that little move of the nose, you know, trying to brush off that little sniffle. We've got a thinner vocal fold there, higher larynx, but I don't know if I believe that's true. I know she's not quite there yet, but so we've got this little bit of air coming through the sound there. Now it sounds quite fragile almost, and I feel that that's just a beautiful place to begin with, where we've got this very, very, very thin vocal fold and almost coming out of like you're having a very personal conversation with someone, like they're standing right there and you're like not looking at them, you're really trying to tell them everything that they mean to you. It's just so beautifully captured. Let's go back on that.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you like a comet pulled from...
Oh, goodness me. You can really see there that they're both absolutely like the utmost professional actresses, but you can just see there the energy in the moment and how truthful those words are as well. I love that the song, you could take it out of the situation of being in the musical Wicked and you could sing it to any friend or, you know, someone that means a lot to you and it makes sense as well. I just think that's so beautiful. You could see there were slightly shorter phrases. Now, when we've got shorter phrases in musical theatre, that's generally following the pattern that we would be using emotionally when we are speaking. So, and I don't know if I believe that's true. And that tends to happen when our heart rate is beating faster. We're a little bit more anxious is probably the wrong word, but when the heart beats faster, we use more breath and therefore we need to breathe more often. And so that's probably where that's coming from it could also be just purely from an intentional standpoint that she wants to break up those phrases to bring in a little bit more breath into the sound, to bring in that feeling of urgency, but also the sort of the weight of the sound. When you hear the breath of someone, you know that what they're saying is quite labored, like it's quite difficult for them to say. Let's just go back on that. It's very similar vocal quality here.
For a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow. If we let them, and we help them in return.
She means every single word. So in musical theatre, we wouldn't necessarily have this much breath in the sound. But again, that would be a director's prerogative as to like what they were okay with. But, you know, Ariana's got thin vocal folds, just letting that breath come through. But I don't know if I believe that's true. Lots of thyroid tilt there, which is what is giving us more of that musical theatre sound, as opposed to turning it into more of a poppy sound, which would be, but I don't know if I believe that's true. If we were to go into more of a falsetto quality, which is with the stiff vocal folds, that would signal to us that that's a little bit more poppy, but which is the thyroid is where the vocal folds live there.
I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you.
Oh. Who didn't cry when they were watching this? Because you just see both of them. Look, Cynthia's got a little bit of a moist eye. You could see that Ariana's holding it back. Like, who doesn't cry when they hear this song anyway? It's just like you immediately think about someone really special in your life, and you're like, oh, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. So we're hearing a little bit of let's just watch that. She lifts her neck up, kind of closes the eyes. Now that could be a way, you know, we do that when we're singing. We don't want to get too emotional when we're singing, because as soon as we go over into that, we start crying for real, or we start getting the real emotions coming in. That's when the throat tends to close up. So we're playing the entire time. This is very like a knife's edge kind of thing. We're wanting to feel the feelings, but not quite let them get to us, I suppose you could call them, but like not quite come out as like full blown having a bit of a cry. So that could be why she's decided to close her eyes there, just to, again, go a little bit more insular. It's a really great way if you feel yourself in performance kind of like lending towards, oh my God, I've started down the slippery slope of too much emotions. It's going to ruin my vocal performance. Close your eyes a little bit. Just take that moment to breathe. Let's just go back on that.
Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It will maybe.
Oh, goodness me. This song breaks my heart every single time. So we've got the I have been changed for good. Now, that's not a whisper. I don't think that that's like stiff vocal folds at all. I think that's still very, very thin vocal folds with lots of air coming through. That's why she's having to breathe more. Now, there is also something about breathing and the type of costume that you're wearing. So both of them are wearing sort of corseted gowns. I don't really know how tight that is on their bodies to allow the breathing to go on, but I'm assuming, you know, they're working with like the best of the best in the world. So, but we are seeing these short, sharp, high breaths here at the top of the chest. And that's absolutely fine. The ribs need to move to allow the breath to come in. And when we've got shorter phrases, that's kind of what we want. What we don't want is the shoulders going up and down, because that's then really, firstly, that's just not what needs to go up in order to allow the breath to come in. It's more of a swinging of the ribs outwards, or a swinging of the ribs here upwards. So there's really no one way to breathe when it comes to singing, which is why actually inside my singing school, we have different modules about how to breathe for different types of singing, because we need to adjust the breath according to what we're actually trying to sing. So you can check out the link in the description below if you wanted to join my online singing school, the Vocal Academy, because that's something that's so important and has really helped singers to understand about what's actually going on in the breath, and that actually a lot of the time they're probably breathing quite correctly. So let's just watch that again. We're not really seeing a lot of movement here in Ariana's mouth. We don't really need to. This isn't a very easy part of her range. She doesn't need a lot of pharyngeal space at this point.
Changed for good.
So just as a note on that, again, I have been changed for good, can sometimes be a little bit easier when we kind of like chuck the teeth over the sound. It makes it a little bit more like a semi-occluded vocal tract exercise, but there's still space between the teeth for the sound to come out, and she's not clenching the teeth together. So that's something that we really want to watch out for. Obviously, I don't really think Ariana Grande would like clench her teeth together, but you know what happens.
It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a sky.
Ariana, you're gonna make us all cry. You make us all cry, and I just love that little nod from Cynthia, just to go like, I know I'm here for you. Oh goodness me. Oh. Isn't it so wonderful when you see like such a truthful performance? Like, it's just so beautiful, so beautiful. And that's what, I cannot implore you enough that, I know I talk a lot about singing technique, and I talk a lot about what it means to create these sounds, but really when it comes down to it, the essence of singing is communication. And you can see that in Cynthia when she's singing here. Hang on a second. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime, so let me say. So every single phrase feels like it has another meaning to it, because rarely when we're working with someone on a song, we would go, okay, so what is the action that I'm trying to play? What am I actually trying to say to this person? How am I trying to say it? Because in everything that we sing, there is an action. So you could say, like, for example, I'm explaining it, well, maybe that we will never meet again. And then, for example, like regret in this lifetime. And then stating, so let me stay before we part, so much of me. And so your every single little moment is planned out. And please don't think that happens like in the moment of a performance. This is something that's really planned out with the director, with the singer. You've gone through, you've analyzed your text, you've known these things, and this is what happens in the practice. Otherwise, honestly, you could have like the most perfect vocal technique, and then it'd still be the most boring performance on the planet. So this is why we're just connecting so much. Well, I'm connecting so much with this performance, because you just feel the truth in every sentence. Let's just watch it again. Very cool, calm and collected, small place that they're starting from.
We will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart.
So again, we've got quite a thin vocal fold there with quite a bit of breath coming through. Yeah, like a handprint on my heart. she's matched that feeling with Ariana there. Also because if you're thinking about the way in which they're singing this song, it's that intimacy that's coming in. You've got different parts in singing, whether you're presenting it, whether you're singing to someone quite close by. So this just sounds like they're having a very intimate conversation. They're both very close to one another. And that little bit of breath there sort of signals that privacy, but it also signals, as I said earlier with Ariana, it's like that almost feeling like you're about to cry, but you're not crying.
Like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea. Like a seed dropped by a sky bird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better?
So there we go. She added in a little bit more thyroid tilt, like a seed that dropped by a sky bird. A little bit more thyroid tilt is helping us to take, or helping her to take out a little bit of that breath in the sound, sound through the distant wood. And it's that little bit of increase in the thyroid tilt is going to lend itself into the crescendo that's coming up.
Because I knew you, I have been changed for good. The years go by so fast.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love this moment. This made me cry when I watched it before. It's going. The OGs and the new ones. So we've got the I have been changed for good. We also don't have a lot of vibrato in the sound there. Vibrato automatically makes us think about the quality of the singing, and especially in this like really emotional first part of a song, we don't want to be caring too much about, we say we don't want to care too much at their level. We don't want to signify to people like, hey, listen to how beautiful my singing is. It's about the storytelling. It's a lot of lyric in that first bit of the song. We've got I have been changed for good. That helps us to reach that higher note, but it's really about pitching. You've just got to pitch those sorts of, like, practice the pitching in advance.
The years go by so fast, the flames keep burning, but we know someday it could be gone. It's nice to know then, as the torch gets passed, you will keep it blazing brightly on.
Oh gosh, this is so stunning. And I love how they're also like all matching, like 4 wonderful singers. And I mean, this is just like the ultimate professionalism, obviously, that they're matching their sounds so beautifully. So let's go back on that, because Idina sort of comes in with a very different vocal quality. She's got look, anyone who sings alphabet will generally have a slightly higher larynx position in general when they're singing this sort of stuff, because thicker vocal folds at that type of the part of the range will have a slightly higher larynx position. So what we've got, let's just go back on that.
Years go by so fast, the flames keep burning, but we know someday it could be gone.
There we go. So the let's go on so fast. You can hear a little bit of the twang coming in there. I'm not making fun of Idina, but she does have that increase in the twang as opposed to, for example, Cynthia, Ariva. We all need a certain degree of twang. It's just how much you hear in the voice.
It's nice to know then, as the torch gets passed.
Can you see there though how they've done a beautiful job of matching the singers, and this is one of the trickiest parts I think in casting, is it's not just about is someone good for the role, it's also about like do their voices match with the other person, or does their voice match with the other person that you want to cast? So often when you don't get a role in musical theatre, it's got nothing to do with whether you're actually able to sing the role. It's about the blend of all of the other characters, and also the height. It plays a huge difference, a huge thing, especially in musical theatre, especially in this show. But obviously, Idina's a little bit taller, but the Cynthia and Ariana and Kristin Chenoweth are all relatively short. I think they're 5'1".
It's nice to know then, as the torch gets passed, you will keep it
Oh, that's a perfect example of voice matching. Can you hear that? Like, two voices just sit so stunningly. And I know they've talked about this in interviews before about how that they were both able to change their sounds to really match. And that's just, it's a hugely important thing. But love the way that Kristin and Idina there, I've been changed for the better. We're in thin vocal folds, higher in the range. That's not a high range for a high note for a professional singer, but we've got lots of thyroid tilt. We can see the work going, changed for the better. We saw quite a lot of work going on there in Idina's neck, because when we're singing higher in the range, sometimes most of the time, we need more muscular effort in order to be able to sing the notes than actually if we were to beef up the subglottic pressure and sing louder.
Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better.
You can hear that they're both singing so quietly, and you're noticing that as well on the way in which each of the singers is holding onto their microphones. So we got, none of this seems to matter anymore. Or what did she? That was like way off. Let's just go back on that. Idina, what you singing?
Brightly on,
There we go. So go brightly like a ship from its mooring. You can see Idina's taken the microphone right away from her mouth. Now that's something that obviously she needs to do because she's singing quite loud at that point. I think she's up on the D, but I don't have my sheet music in front of me. So Idina's got a wider mouth shape there. That's what we need when we're taking that slightly more. We could say that this is more of a mixed voice quality because we're further up in the range, but we're not in a full belt, because that would honestly overwhelm the song. You don't want to be belting in this song. It takes away that very sensitive part of the singing and like the meaning of the song. So like, don't belt it. But you can see there, like a ship blown from its mooring. She's also standing up more straight. Look, she's like the utmost professional and very, very good at this type of singing, but we still need that muscular effort to increase as we're going higher. There you go. Who can say? She reached up through the back of the neck, head and neck anchoring. Now you might all I was thinking there, oh, Cynthia looks so cool, calm and collected in that moment. There's a huge difference between whether something is actively in your repertoire and they've been singing it for like 5 years, they did the whole show. If something is like really actively in your repertoire at this particular point, and whether it's been, 20 years since you I know they've sung this song a couple of times in concerts, but really 20 years since you actively sang this type of music. So it is a huge difference as to the muscle memory. I think, although you can't quite hear Cynthia super clear over Idina there, because Idina has a slightly more, I think there's a little bit more twang being used in that sound. I think Cynthia's singing quite quietly in the mix. I think that's probably one of the reasons why we're hearing her so low and why it looks really quite cool, calm and collected. I don't think she's using a lot of muscular effort. There's no thickening going on in the vocal folds.
if I've been changed for the better, I do believe I have been changed for the better. And because I knew you, because I knew you,
And they all change to like a very, almost, we call it legitimate. I don't know what it's called actually. I think it's just still called legit singing. It was what was originally sort of seen as being like the legitimate way to sing, or the proper way to sing. We've got thinner vocal folds, lots of thyroid. Because I knew you helps to really get up there. You don't want to be taking loads of weight up there.
because I knew you, I haven't changed for good.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then you can see them looking around, and that's what we're needing to do when we're singing with other people, especially when there's it's called a fermata. So where there's a break. I have been changed for good. There's like a break in there. They obviously would have practiced this, and they would have practiced when to come in. But when there's no music going on underneath you, you're thinking of the timing, and you look to everybody to go, for good. And so that's why they were all looking around to make sure, yeah, we're coming in at the right time. Otherwise, it would have been like a bit this is something, again, that takes a lot of practice. And I just think it's so beautiful. Oh, my goodness me. Wow, 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 wow. I just loved this entire performance. I loved the entire concert. It was just so beautifully put together. And I just have to give a huge shout out, obviously, to the production, but also the dancers. Like, wow. The dancing was off the charts. And I am so excited for Wicked Part 2. I've already got my tickets to go and see it in the cinema. I'm going to be sitting there with my popcorn in my super comfy chair and probably bawling my eyes out like I did in the film, in the first part. So I'm super excited. Wow, that's such an amazing performance. Let me know down in the comments if you were there, if you've already seen this, and if you could keep yourself from crying, because I certainly can't. I hope this comes out okay. I've done a bit of bootlegging, recording the screen on my phone, and so you can watch this before it gets deleted by PBS. But if you've enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button. It honestly really helps me to help you more with your vocal technique. I'm a full-time singing teacher. I've been doing this for 18 years. And if you're interested in learning anything that we talked about there, singing is just muscular. And I've got an online singing school. It's down in the description below. You can join the community section of the singing school for free. And I also have some singing lessons for you, as well as how to warm up and a full warm up series for you to get started. It's all down in the description. Check out some more Wicked up here, and I'll see you around here next time. Have an awesome rest of the day. Happy singing, ka kite anō.